Hello, my name is Melissa Burns. I'm a Senior Program Manager in FDA's Office of Combination Products, and I'll be discussing reporting device information and malfunctions for combination products. Learning objectives include providing an overview of combination products so that you recognize and understand these products, and also some related terminology. We'll then cover an overview of the post-marketing safety reporting, or PMSR requirements in general, that apply to combination products. Then we'll dive further into specifically malfunction reports, what they are and how they are applied to combination products. And we'll finish with some specifics on what device information should be included in combination product individual case safety reports submitted to FDA. So what is a combination product? A combination product is a product comprised of two or more different types of medical products. I focus on the word different because in order to be a combination product for FDA regulatory purposes, the product needs to contain a drug and a device, a drug and a biological product. A device and a biological product are all three together. For example, in situations where two drugs are combined into a single dosage form, that may be a combined drug product, but it would not be a combination product unless the product also included a device or a biological product. Examples of combination products include prefilled delivery devices such as prefilled syringes, injectors, and nasal sprays, transdermal systems, drug product vials or other containers co-packaged with devices used to deliver or prepare those products, and kits, including surgical kits or first aid kits that include devices and drugs. Combination products are assigned to a lead center who has primary jurisdiction for the review of the product. That lead center is determined on which constituent part of the product has the primary mode of action, meaning the most important therapeutic effect. The lead center is also aligned with the type of application under which the product is typically approved. So, for example, CDER lead combination products are approved under NDAs, ANDAs, and in some cases BLAs. And those types of products will be the focus of the remainder of the presentation. I mentioned the term constituent part, and I wanted to provide explanation that a constituent part is merely a drug, device, or biological product that is part of a combination product. So, for example, in a situation where we have a prefilled vaccine syringe combination product, the syringe is the device constituent part, whereas the vaccine would be the biological product constituent part. Likewise, in situations where we have a drug-eluting stent, the drug coating on that stent is the drug constituent part, and the stent itself is the device constituent part. Before we get into the specifics of combination product post-marketing safety reporting and in particular malfunction reports, I thought it might help to provide some overview regarding why FDA put these requirements in place. First was to help us ensure complete and consistent reporting. Complete meaning we were receiving all post-market safety reports relevant for the type of product, and consistent meaning where the information was coming in a consistent way into a consistent place. This helps FDA ensure we execute on our mission of assessing post-market safety for products marketed in the U.S. That said, we did want to avoid unnecessarily duplicative reporting requirements or redundant requirements. And so as you'll see when we discuss the next slide, we brought in only those things we thought were necessary to ensure complete and consistent reporting. And again, we were trying to clarify how the requirements that are already applied to drugs, devices, and biological products apply in a combination product context. I recognize this is a detailed and busy slide, and we certainly won't get into all the details of it today, but I did want to provide a context and overview for the constituent part-based post-marketing safety reporting requirements that apply to a combination product. So given that focus today is on drug-led products, if we look at the left row or column that is NDAs, ANDAs, and BLAs that include a device constituent part, in those situations, not only are those NDAs, for example, subject to drug reporting requirements that arise from the NDA requirements themselves, but the combination product applicant is also required to report 5-day reports, malfunction reports, and correction and removal reports. We'll be focusing for the remainder of this presentation on the malfunction reporting requirements, which was one of the most significant changes to come about as part of the post-market safety reporting requirements. So first we need to define what is a malfunction for FDA and when is it reportable. So a malfunction is merely a failure of a device constituent part related to failure to meet specs or otherwise perform as intended. So this is a broad definition explaining essentially that something went wrong with the product or with the device constituent part or the product. The second part is important because this is what makes an event reportable to FDA. So whereas the malfunction definition is fairly broad, the situations in which you need to report is that both of the sub-bullets need to apply. So first, of course, you need to have information that suggests that the product did malfunction, and it needs to be likely that that malfunction would cause or contribute to death or serious injury if it were to recur. So just having a malfunction is not enough. It needs to be a malfunction that carries associated risk of death or serious injury if it were to recur. If you're coming from a pharmacovigilance background, one thing to be aware of for malfunction reports is that a malfunction may need to be reported even if there was no associated patient event. For example, if a malfunction occurs prior to the use of the product, or if a malfunction occurs and the outcome in that circumstance wasn't serious, however, if it were to recur, it could be serious, those malfunctions would still need to be reported to FDA, even though in that event there was no patient injury or death. So we understand now what a malfunction is in the FDA regulatory context, but the term can also come up in other ways and for other types of events related to combination products. For example, it would be a common situation that a malfunction could result in a medication error, particularly related to delivery devices. So if there's some component out of specification in a particular delivery device, and by virtue of that issue, and the patient tries to use the device fails or jams, and the patient misses the dose, that could be both a malfunction and a medication error. There are also situations where users and patients may have issues with a device and indicate that that's a malfunction, but there may or may not actually be an underlying device issue. For example, there can be cases where a patient simply misunderstood the instructions for use, or misused the device, or potentially used the device for a purpose for which it was never intended. And in those cases, there may be use errors, but not necessarily malfunctions, as the FDA would consider malfunction. So let's move now to what information to include in combination product ICSRs. So I'll highlight first that in our electronic systems, we now have ways for the applicant who submits an ICSR to identify that the report is for a combination product. And of course, when you're submitting for a combination product, you should identify it as such. We also now expect constituent part information to be provided when you submit an ICSR to FDA. So for example, when you have a drug-device combination product, when submitting an ICSR, you would include information on both the drug constituent part and the device constituent part. And that would be expected regardless of whether the constituent part was implicated in the event. So even if the event had nothing to do with the device, you would still include device information within the report because FDA considers the product as a whole, and the configuration of the product is important so that we want to have complete understanding of the product when the ICSR is submitted. So what device information should I include? So I'll focus on a couple of device-related fields and highlight them, but please be aware that within the electronic systems, we've made significant updates to allow you to submit device information and other combination product information, and of course, we always encourage as much information as is available to be provided. That said, the two areas that we'll focus on will be suspect medical device, and that again is the device constituent part. We use product codes for these device constituent parts, and I'll get into that in a bit more detail on the next slide. So that should be submitted, as well as any information on the device name, common name, brand name, etc. The second device-specific field that I'll focus on is a device problem code. So unlike the suspect medical device information in the product code, which is about the type of device, these are about the particular failure or issue that was experienced related to the device constituent part of the product in a malfunction situation. So these will be included when you're making malfunction reports to FDA. So what are these device product codes and problem codes? So again, the product code is a way to capture the device type, and in FDA it's a 3-letter standardized alpha product code, or PRO code for short. These have been in use in the Center for Devices for a long time, and we wanted to use a similar scheme when capturing device constituent part information for a combination product. So, for example, piston syringes are product code or pro code FMF, whereas nasal inhalers are pro code KCO. Again, problem codes are to capture a specific issue related to how the device failed, or another issue related to the device that contributes to a malfunction or other problem. So these are, again, FDA codes. FDA is harmonized with other jurisdictions, but we have FDA codes to represent different device problems. I'll acknowledge here that MEDRA has also adopted codes that align with many of the common device problem codes. There's approximately 150 included in MEDRA version 23. But again, we still expect a device problem code to be included when you're submitting a reportable malfunction to FDA, although we certainly encourage robust information in the report, including MEDRA terminology and coding as appropriate. Combination product case study. So in a situation where we have a BLA consisting of a vial of a drug product packaged with 3 different device constituent parts, a healthcare provider reports that a broken needle resulted in a hemorrhage. When reporting the device information, you would report the device product codes that apply to the 3 different device constituent parts of the combination product. So FMF for the syringe, FMI for the needle, and ONB for the vial adapter. Likewise, because in this case the needle broke and that was the reported failure, you would use a fracture product code, problem code, FDA 1260 to report to FDA information on the particular device failure experienced. There are also MEDRA LLTs associated with needle issues and hemorrhages, and certainly we encourage MEDRA coding to be used as well to help inform and our review process and to provide as much information as possible. So you're certainly encouraged to use MEDRA codes as well as the device problem codes. As far as why we thought that this device information was important to include in individual case safety reports, this allows us to have structured information, particularly related to product code, models, and so forth, that enhances our ability to trend and assess, meaning that we, as you can imagine, these devices can be used in many different therapeutic drug areas, for example, and by having some structured information on the type of device within a product, it allows us to look across therapeutic areas as related to device issues that we may see or are investigating. It also allows us to reach not just across therapeutic areas within a center, but also to reach across centers to different data that may exist, for example, in the device MDR or medical device reporting databases as related to a particular type of device that could also inform our process. That said, we still, of course, need additional information within narrative and MEDRA coding that clarifies specifically how the device was implicated in the event, what the failure was, what the outcomes were, etc. So, of course, we need the structured device information, but also we need the additional context and detail that's provided in narrative and other fields. In summary, combination product applicants are subject to requirements for post-market safety reporting that arise both from the application type under which their product was approved and also the additional constituent part-based requirements that arise from other constituent parts of the product. This would include malfunctions for those combination products that include a device constituent part. It's important when submitting information to the agency in individual case safety reports that you provide a comprehensive combination product information that includes information about the constituent parts of the product. Provided quite a list of resources here, including the publicly posted list of product codes and problem codes, and our combination product post-market safety reporting webpage, which is consolidated information, including examples, which you may find helpful. At this point, I'll stop, and hopefully we can take questions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for your great presentation and that overview. So we have a lot of questions coming in, and if anybody has questions for Melissa, please put them in the chat pod in the right lower hand corner, and hopefully we'll get to all of them today. So our first question is about avoiding unnecessary duplicates. If multiple cases are reported on the same product, will they be termed as different cases or duplicates? So if multiple cases are reported on the same similars, will they be termed as different cases or duplicates?
So if they're reported separately, I think we will get separate case numbers. But I think what I wanted to say here was just to encourage folks to report information in the same stream if they can. And so there are certainly situations, for example, where you have a 15-day event and you report it, but you're still assessing, for example, a malfunction, and you want to report, you need to make that report. You determine you need to make that report later. I think it's encouraged to do that in a follow-up way so that we have all the information included in the same stream, so to speak, as far as our ability to assess it.
Great, thank you so much. And our next question is, if there are two different drugs in a product, would that be considered a combination?
No, just to reinforce the earlier part of the presentation, if it really is just two drugs in a single dosage form or whatever, or two different drug vials in a package, that would be drug-drug, which would not be a combination product. You do need those two different types of medical products. So two drugs together would not be a combination product.
Great, thank you. Can you please clarify if malfunction reports without accompanying adverse event information, should those be reported?
So the answer to that is yes. So if they meet the definition of a reportable malfunction, meaning that the device or the product had something that meets the definition of malfunction, and that malfunction could contribute to a serious injury or death, then yes, those do need to be reported separately, and the FAIR system will accommodate reporting of just that malfunction event to the FDA, just via the FAIR system.
Great, thank you. So another question for you. After initial FDA approval, has the FDA amended a drug product to fit into the combination drug device category? And if so, can you provide examples of reasons why it would be recategorized?
Right. So I think what I want to make clear here is that I think that we recognize it may not always have been clear, especially for older products at the time of approval and so forth, whether you were a combination product. But if you meet the definition of a combination product, you are one, regardless of sort of whether you have an affirmative feedback from FDA to that effect. So if you have questions about a product and whether you fall into the combination product bucket or not, and would be subject to these requirements, I think we certainly encourage you to interact with us. I think there's contact information in my presentation for the Office Combination Products, or you can go through your lead center. But I would be cautious about just assuming because we haven't affirmatively said something that you are not a combination product, particularly if it's a product that's been on the market for a while.
Great, thank you. And another one we have coming up, are the device problem codes publicly available for sponsors to use?
Yes, absolutely. CDER posts those publicly, and there should be a link in the slides if you didn't get it, and certainly follow up. But we do make all of our problem codes publicly available. There's a large listing of them on our website.
Thank you. All right, another question. Is there a plan to harmonize the medical dictionary for regulatory activities with IMZRF codes?
So at this point, we don't have a detailed plan to harmonize, but I will say that FDA did work with with what we had seen on the device side for delivery device types of events, and try to incorporate what we could into the MEDRA dictionary. I think at this point we're in a stage of wait and see because these requirements don't go fully in effect until the end of July, and the device dictionary is a more substantive and more detailed dictionary than the current MEDRA codes. So I think we'll certainly entertain that going forward, but at this point, I think we just don't have the information to support, how far we could go with harmonization. But we're certainly open to keeping our minds open about that.
All right, great. And another question. So what kind of codes are appropriate for a single entity drug device that has no standalone device use or code at this time? How would you report that? Would it be the brand name as the code? And is that mandatory in all combination product reports?
Right. So what we said in the guidance document related to this is that you select the closest product code. And we recognize for some NDA-approved products, it may not be clear what the closest product code is. So we have made available on our website, on the Post-Market Safety Reporting website, a list of codes that are common in drug and biologic-led products. And we've actually added some codes to our database to really better represent the types of devices in combination products. But whether you're single entity or co-packaged or whatever your situation is, we're still expecting a product code, the closest product code, and you're welcome to ask us questions. But you certainly have fields for brand name and otherwise, so certainly use all the fields that you have information on. And the product code, if you're stuck, let us know. But there are some resources posted for you.
All right, great. And another question about code. Do you still need to use device codes if the combination product was filed under an NDA, BLA, etc., and not a device application?
So the answer to that is yes. So again, the device product codes and the device problem codes, we're trying to harmonize across our systems to use those codes consistently. So the device side has been using them for a long time, and we wanted to bring them over and use them consistently on the drug-led side as well. So these, yes, the answer to the question is yes. It doesn't really change your requirement just because you're under an NDA. But like we said, we're trying to get what we need without asking for too much.
Okay, great. And I think this will be our last question for right now. So can you give a brief update or description on the periodic reporting requirements for combination products?
Sure. So I didn't highlight that in the presentation, but there are also requirements under the Post-Market Safety Reporting rule that relate to what is included in combination product periodic safety reports. And so the 5-day reports and malfunction reports that are the new ICSR types, those should also be included in periodic safety reports made to the agency. So they'll be sort of in a separate section, and the guidance gives you a little bit of assistance here on what our expectations are. But you do also have a new obligation to include these individual case safety reports related to malfunctions in 5 days also into the periodic reporting that you do for your products.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Melissa, for your presentation, and it's so nice to hear the face and or at least the voice, see the face and hear the voice